Hi guys, welcome to the Daughter Rise channel. My name is Yvonne and this channel is all about bringing you content about childhood sexual abuse. On this channel I share things to do with my experience of going through this childhood trauma. I also share news stories and add my thoughts and commentary to those stories and other topics that I've come across to do with childhood sexual abuse. And also as well, from time to time I do interview other survivors and their supporters in hopes of raising awareness about this childhood abuse, this childhood trauma. So if this is something that you're interested in, please hit the subscribe button, and if you like the content, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. So in today's video, I want to talk to you about sex after childhood sexual abuse. It's a video I've been wanting to do for a while actually, but I didn't have the courage to do it. But today I've kind of woke up and thought to myself, right, I want to do this video because I really do think it's important. In all my years of working with survivors, over the last 11-12 years, it is a subject that not many survivors will openly talk about, because obviously going through sexual abuse as a child has a lot of shame and guilt attached to it. And, you know, because of that, anything else to do with sex after that does feel a little bit difficult to talk about. But I want to talk about it because there were some lies that were left behind because of my experiences of going through childhood sexual abuse. And because my first introduction to this type of sexual behaviour came at the hands of my father, it left me with certain perceptions and views about myself, about my body, about, you know, the types of relationships I would get myself into. You know, it left behind a lot of lies. And, you know, quite rightly, it would leave behind a lot of lies because, you know, that type of intimacy or behaviour should be done with somebody who you choose at a time later on in life, not in your childhood. So here are the 3 lies that I want to talk about in terms of childhood sexual abuse. The first lie is that attention and affection is always followed by sexual demands. My father was not an affectionate person, but he became affectionate and gave me attention when he was sexually abusing me. It was only because he wanted to make me more compliant in the sexual abuse, to kind of get me to kind of be more relaxed and to be more, you know, at ease. That was the only reason why he was giving me attention and affection, because, you know, after all that, he wanted to have his sexual demands met. And I grew up with that kind of thinking, especially when it came to relationships. If a man was affectionate or giving me attention, I thought that I would have to have sex with him. And sometimes I would end up in situations where that would happen. And I had to completely unlearn that. And how I started to unlearn that actually was through therapy. So the key thing I learned from that, and I'm going to use my marriage as an example because that has been my healthiest relationship. I've been married for 17 years and been with my husband for 19 years, is that when my husband gives me affection or attention, doesn't necessarily mean he wants sex. He is just being affectionate and just wanting to give me attention. That is it. It took me a long time to unlearn that, you know, it doesn't mean that sex is expected of me just because my husband gives me affection or pays me attention. And as I said, you know, just going through therapy, that has really helped me. And, you know, just having a relationship with God has helped me as well, just to understand the dynamics as well of what a healthy relationship should be like. The second lie that I found in the aftermath when it comes to sex is that you can't have sex without remembering your childhood sexual abuse. Now, this is something that I found quite difficult in other past relationships because I still wasn't at a stage where I was healing. Obviously, my father introduced me to that type of behaviour, which was abuse. Okay, he used sexual abuse as a way to control and violate me. It's very, very different to when you are in an intimate relationship, as I am with my husband. It's very, very different. And I think for a long time I did have that kind of thing where the memories would just automatically come into my mind, and it made for me, I think, the experiences of intimacy quite difficult. But as I've mentioned before, therapy really did help me to understand that there is a significant difference between the 2 experiences that I have. Experiences of my own choosing in intimacy and the experience of abuse at the hands of my dad. And, you know, getting my head around that took quite a long time. But then many years later, and it did take quite a few years, I was able to be intimate without it coming into my mind, and it's such a godsend. So the thing is, I want to say to you is that it's a complete lie that You can't have intimacy without remembering the stain of your childhood abuse. It may be present for a while, but you have to get help and support to be able to deal with it and know how scary it is to face it, to even talk about it, to even talk about sex. It can feel embarrassing, shameful, especially after going through childhood sexual abuse. But the stain of it doesn't have to interfere with intimacy in your relationships. And I must say, significantly for me, it is being the most evident and most true in my committed relationship with my husband. I have seen the healing of that kind of thinking in this particular committed relationship. None of the relationships before I had that. Those thoughts would come in and, be intrusive in those moments, as well as the whole kind of setup and dynamics of why I was in those situations. So there was a lot of kind of issues and problems there. But in my committed relationship with my husband, I did recognize this in intimacy, and I started to get help with that. And I also prayed and asked God for help with that. So that's what made the difference. The third lie I want to talk to you about is about not having control over your own body. Now, this is something, again, that many survivors of sexual abuse go through. When you've been violated as a child by an adult, you can grow up and think that you can't say no, that you can't set boundaries, that if things go so far in intimacy that it's gone too far and you can't say no now because it's gone this far. You have control over your body. Just because those things have happened to you as a child doesn't mean as an adult, that people have the right to do what they want with you. Even if you go into an intimate situation and things have got to a certain point and you don't want to go any further, that is totally fine. You are in control of your body. You have the right to say no. You have the right to set boundaries. You have the right to change your mind. You are not in that helpless situation you was as a child, even though you might feel helpless. Now, what's going to help with that is if you can build up your confidence, build up your self-esteem, and get support to be able to do that. That is when I think you can feel more stronger in situations where you feel like more in control of your body. And it does involve breaking down a lot of the lies as well. A lot of male and female survivors struggle with promiscuity, and the reason why, one of the main reasons why, is because of the fact they feel that they can't say no. They can't say no once things have got to a certain point. And that can be quite difficult. It's something I struggled with in my earlier years. You always have control over your own body, no matter what your abuse or the kind of experiences of your abuse have left you feeling. You always have control over your own body. And I think that's one of the major things that I've learned about sex after going through childhood sexual abuse, is that I am in control of my decisions and my body, and nobody can take that away from me. So that's what I really want to share with you today. Just 3 little lies that CSA leaves behind in the aftermath of childhood sexual abuse. There is many other aspects of sex after abuse that I want to talk about, and I may get on one of my previous guests to help explore that. And I think it's something that is worth talking about and sharing with other people, because even if you've had experiences of childhood sexual abuse, you still have the right to be able to have a loving, committed relationship. And that is where I have personally seen the power of intimacy at its finest, in a relationship with my husband, in a committed relationship where trust can be built, where fears can be explored, where all this different type of stuff can be addressed. So that's what I want to share with you today in this video. I hope that you found it helpful. Until the next time, take care.